The afternoon sun blazed down on a dusty, forgotten road just outside Atlanta. Cars rarely passed this way. But today, a sleek black Bentley sat motionless on the shoulder, its hood up and smoke curling into the sky. Inside, Malcolm Royce, a self-made millionaire with a reputation for ruthlessness, cursed under his breath. "This can't be happening," he muttered, tapping his phone for signal. Nothing. Dressed in a tailored white shirt and navy slacks, Malcolm looked entirely out of place in the middle of nowhere. His car had broken down after a charity event he didn't even want to attend. Ironically, the event was about connecting with real people. He stood outside the car, trying to flag down help. Minutes dragged on until, finally, a rusty red pickup pulled over. Out stepped a woman, tall, confident, with grease-streaked jeans and eyes that studied everything. She was black, with braided hair tucked under a ball cap that read, "Mackenzie Auto." "You need help?" she asked, glancing at the smoking engine. Malcolm raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, unless you've got a helicopter hidden in that truck." The woman didn't smile. "Pop the hood." He hesitated, then obeyed. She leaned in, poking at the engine with skilled hands. Malcolm stared, puzzled by how calm and capable she seemed. There was something oddly familiar about her, something he couldn't place. But before he could ask anything, he noticed a flash of silver on her left hand. A ring. A simple, worn band, but it sent a chill down his spine. His face turned pale. Where did you get that ring?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. She looked up slowly, her expression unreadable. "Why? You recognize it?" Malcolm took a step back, his heart thudding in his chest. The sun was still high, but suddenly everything felt darker, heavier. That ring, it wasn't just familiar. It was identical to the one he had given someone many years ago. Someone he had buried in the past. That he stared at the woman, truly seeing her for the first time. Her eyes, that sharp gaze, the calm control in her voice. It wasn't just her mechanical skill that rattled him. It was the way her presence stirred something he had locked away. "You didn't answer me," she said again, standing tall now, wiping her hands on a rag. "Do you recognize it?" Malcolm swallowed. I had a ring like that once. Gave it to someone, a long time ago." Her brow arched. "Let me guess. You were young, foolish, and thought the world would wait for you?" His breath caught. That was exactly what he used to say. It was their joke, back when he was broke and full of dreams. "The world will wait for us, right? We're unshakable." That was the promise he made to a girl named Ava, the only girl he ever really loved, but Ava had vanished. Disappeared right after high school. He searched. He begged her family. No one knew, or no one would say, "You're not," he began. The woman sighed, then pulled off her hat. The moment her braids fell loose and her face caught the light fully, his knees nearly buckled. "Ava," he whispered. She nodded slowly. "Nice to see you again, Malcolm Royce. Still breaking things wherever you go?" He opened his mouth, but no words came. Ava had returned, and she had questions. The silence between them was thick. Malcolm stepped forward, unsure if he should speak or run. He had imagined this moment 1,000 different ways, but in every version, he had been the one to find her, not the other way around. Ava turned away, picking up a wrench, pretending to check the engine again, though the job was clearly done. "Didn't expect you to recognize me," she said, her voice steady but her fingers trembling. "You vanished," Malcolm finally said, voice low. "No calls, no letters. Your mom said you moved." Then she stopped answering. Ava let out a bitter laugh. "Moved? That's what she told you?" She set the wrench down slowly and turned. "I was sent away, Malcolm. After your scholarship came in and your face was in the local paper, my mom decided I wasn't good enough for you." Malcolm blinked, stunned. "What? She thought I'd drag you down. Said a black girl from our neighborhood couldn't keep up with a future CEO. She sent me to live with an aunt 3 states away. I wrote. You never wrote back. I never got anything, he said, breath-catching. I searched for you. I swear, Ava. I would have given up everything. The garage buzzed with the hum of a nearby lawnmower, but inside it felt like the world had stopped. Ava's lips trembled for a moment, then steadied. Well, she said, her voice carrying steel, looks like you got everything anyway. Millionaire now, huh? Malcolm looked down, ashamed. All the money in the world couldn't fix losing you. Ava crossed her arms. Then why did it take a broken car to bring you back to me? The air between them pulsed with old love, buried pain, and the beginning of something new. Malcolm's eyes dropped to her hand, the hand holding a rag, smeared with grease. But what made his heart jolt wasn't the dirt or the strength in her grip. It was the ring. A simple silver band with a small, heart-shaped emerald set in the center. Faded now. Worn. It was his ring. He had given it to her when they were just teenagers, on the old railroad tracks behind the school. When we're grown, he had said, I'll have more. But for now, this is our promise. Ava noticed his stare and quickly pulled her hand back, stuffing it into her jacket pocket. Don't, she said, is that my ring? She sighed, then shook her head slowly. Your promise, Malcolm. You may have forgotten, but I didn't. I didn't forget, he said, stepping forward, voice breaking. I thought you left me. I thought you'd moved on. I blamed myself every day. She clenched her jaw. And I kept this ring through every damn thing I went through. Every move. Every job. Every struggle. I wore it to remember that someone once saw me, not as a burden, not as a girl from the wrong side of town, but as someone worth loving. Tears welled in his eyes. I still see you. Ava shook her head, but the world changed, Malcolm. You changed. No. I survived. I worked, I clawed my way up. But you were always the reason behind it. I just didn't know where you went. I couldn't find you. She hesitated, her fingers brushed the ring again, as if debating whether to remove it, or hold tighter. You didn't find me, Malcolm, she whispered. But maybe, fate did. A long silence stretched between them. Until finally, Ava spoke again. You want to talk? Or you just want your car fixed? Malcolm stood in stunned silence, the weight of her words heavier than any business deal he'd ever closed. Ava, the girl he once swore to marry, the girl he thought had vanished without a trace, was standing before him, wrench in hand, pain in her eyes, and his forgotten promise still circling her finger. I want both, he finally said. The car, and the truth. Ava let out a breath, half a laugh, half a sigh. The truth's messier than your engine, Malcolm. He smiled faintly. I can handle mess. I've handled billion-dollar mergers, legal fires, boardroom betrayals. But this is personal. She nodded toward the car. Then help me. You wanna talk? Hand me that socket wrench. Malcolm bent awkwardly, handing over the tool. So, where did you go? After that night? Ava didn't look up as she worked, her voice calm but edged with memory. You remember that night differently than I do. You said you'd wait. But when my family was evicted, when I left town, you never came looking. I tried. I asked around. No one knew. No one cared, she corrected. And by the time I found steady ground again, you were all over the news. The youngest CEO. The tech genius. Dating models. Flying to Tokyo. What was I supposed to think? That I never stopped looking. That I never stopped wondering. That every time I saw that ring in some drawer, I regretted not holding on to you harder. Ava paused, eyes finally meeting his. Then why now, Malcolm? Why today? He looked around, at the dusty road, the silence of the countryside. Maybe, fate got tired of waiting for us to figure it out. She tightened a bolt and stood upright. Then let's see if fate still works, unlike your engine. They both smiled. Something had shifted, something old had sparked again. As Ava continued to work on the car, her hands moving with a practiced ease, Malcolm stood back, his mind racing. Every second of silence between them felt heavy, each unspoken word a weight pulling him deeper into the past they had both tried so hard to forget. The ring on her finger, the same one he'd given her years ago, now seemed to mock him. His mind wandered back to that night, the promises, the dreams they shared. He had been so sure of their future, of their love. But somewhere, between ambition and time, it all slipped away. "I didn't expect you to come back like this," Ava said, breaking his thoughts. Her voice was steady, but there was a tremor beneath it, a crack he hadn't noticed before. "Not like this." Malcolm didn't know what to say. All his life, he'd been able to fix things, problems, people, even companies. But fixing this? Fixing what had been broken between them? That felt impossible. "Ava," he began, his voice softer now, "I don't know how to make up for what happened. All I know is that, seeing you again, hearing your voice, it makes everything feel wrong, but also, right." She looked up at him, her eyes full of caution but also curiosity. "You think we can just pick up where we left off?" "I don't know," he admitted. "But I want to try. I should have tried harder before. I was so caught up in everything else. I lost sight of what really mattered." Ava's gaze softened for a moment. But then, she looked down at the engine, a reminder of how long it had taken to get here. "Sometimes, Malcolm, things don't just get fixed. Sometimes, they need to be rebuilt." He didn't answer right away. Instead, he crouched down beside her, his hand reaching out to help her tighten a final bolt. There was a crackle of electricity in the air, and something told him that this might just be the beginning of rebuilding everything. The engine roared to life, breaking the silence between them. For a moment, they both sat there, listening to the hum of the freshly repaired car, the sound oddly soothing in the midst of the storm brewing between them. Ava wiped her hands on her rag, her expression unreadable. Malcolm leaned back against the hood, trying to process everything. There were so many things he wanted to say, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, he found himself staring at the ring on her finger again, the one he had given her years ago. The one that had once symbolized a promise, a future he had believed in so strongly. "You kept it," Malcolm said quietly, as though the words had slipped out before he could stop them. Ava's eyes flickered to the ring, then back to him. "I had my reasons," she said, her voice tight with emotion. "But I guess you wouldn't understand." "I don't," Malcolm admitted, his voice filled with regret. "I've spent so much time trying to build an empire that I forgot what mattered. What I had with you, it was everything. And I just let it slip away." Ava shook her head, not in anger, but in a kind of resigned sadness. "You weren't the only one who let go. I didn't just sit around waiting for you to come back. I had to move on, Malcolm. I had to survive." The words hit Malcolm like a slap. He had no idea how much she had suffered after he left. His eyes searched hers, the depth of her pain more evident now than ever before. He wanted to say something to make it better, but there was a part of him that feared the truth would only make things worse. But before he could say anything, Ava spoke again. "The question is, Malcolm, do you think we can fix what was broken, or is it too late?" For the first time, the possibility of redemption didn't seem so far away. The silence between them stretched longer than either of them was comfortable with. Ava stood, her hands still gripping the rag, her thoughts racing. She could feel Malcolm's eyes on her, but she didn't want to meet his gaze. Not yet. There was still too much hurt, too much resentment. "Do you know what it felt like?" Ava finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "To watch you walk away with no explanation. No goodbyes? You left, and all I had was this damn ring, reminding me of promises that were never kept." Malcolm felt the weight of her words like a stone in his chest. He wanted to explain himself, to tell her the things that had kept him away, his ambition, his fears, his desire to make something of himself. But how could he explain any of that when it was clear that she had been left to pick up the pieces of her life alone? Ava, Malcolm started, but she held up her hand, cutting him off. No, she said firmly. You were selfish. You abandoned me, and you abandoned us. All those years, I thought you'd come back, but you didn't. And now, here you are, fixing my car and acting like everything's okay. She turned her back to him, her breath shaky. Well, it's not. Malcolm stepped closer, but the space between them felt like a chasm, impossible to cross. I didn't know. I didn't understand what I was doing until it was too late. I'm sorry, Ava. I'm so sorry. Her shoulders tensed, and for a moment, she stood still, processing the sincerity in his words. Then, slowly, she turned to face him. Apologies don't fix everything, Malcolm, she replied, her voice wavering with emotion. But maybe they can start the healing. He nodded, relieved to hear the faint hope in her voice. Maybe there was still a chance. But just as he opened his mouth to speak again, his eyes fell on something that made his heart stop. Ava's ring was glowing faintly in the sunlight. And as he looked closer, something about the design seemed familiar. Where did you get that ring? He asked, his voice tense. Ava's eyes locked with his. It's not what you think, Malcolm, she said, her words heavy with something he couldn't quite place. For the first time, he wondered if there was more to this story than he realized. Malcolm's gaze never left the ring. He couldn't shake the nagging feeling that there was something about it he should have remembered. Something important. The design was intricate, elegant, but what stood out was the symbol etched on the band, something he'd seen before, long ago, during his childhood. Ava, where did you really get that ring? He repeated, his voice now more urgent, his pulse quickening. Ava took a deep breath, her fingers brushing the smooth surface of the ring as she stepped back slightly. Her eyes softened, as if preparing herself for a confession. It belonged to my grandmother, she said slowly. But that's not all. It's been in my family for generations, passed down as part of a legacy we didn't speak of much, until now. Malcolm felt a rush of confusion. A legacy? But why had he never heard of it before? He had spent years knowing Ava, and in all that time, she had never mentioned this connection to him. The pieces weren't fitting together, and it was clear that there was something bigger at play here, something he had been blind to all along. You're telling me, Malcolm began, his mind racing, that ring, it's been passed down through your family? Ava nodded. Yes. But it's more than just a ring. It symbolizes a connection, one that you're about to understand in a way that'll change everything you thought you knew about me. And about your family. Her words were laced with an underlying tension, as though they were leading them both toward a truth that neither of them was ready to face. Malcolm's heart skipped a beat. My family? What are you talking about? Ava hesitated for a moment, as though gathering her courage. The ring was originally meant for someone in your family, Malcolm, your grandfather. His eyes widened. My grandfather, he whispered, barely able to process the weight of her words. Ava nodded gravely. It's all connected, Malcolm. Everything. The truth you've been running from, it's time to face it. Malcolm's breath caught in his chest. This was bigger than any of them realized. Malcolm's mind was in turmoil. His grandfather, he had known little about the man, only stories passed down about his wealth, his business empire, and his mysterious connections to people he could never quite place. But what Ava was saying, this wasn't just about family. This was about something deeper, something hidden in the shadows of history. He stared at the ring on her finger, now almost glowing in the dim light of the parking lot. His heart raced as the pieces of the puzzle started to shift. My grandfather, what does this have to do with me? Malcolm's voice was a whisper now, filled with disbelief. He took a step closer to Ava, his hands trembling slightly. Why are you telling me this now? Ava looked at him, her eyes filled with a quiet resolve. Because you deserve to know the truth, Malcolm. All these years, your family has kept this hidden, and they've tried to erase the past. But you can't erase what's meant to be. She paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. The ring, it was meant to be given to a woman in your family, someone who was supposed to inherit it. But there were secrets your family didn't want you to know. It's part of a legacy they've tried to bury. Malcolm's mind was racing, but a new clarity was beginning to form. You're saying, my family knew about this ring? And they, what? They didn't tell me? Ava nodded. Your grandfather had a woman he loved before everything went wrong, before he married your grandmother. The ring was meant for her. But she was forced to leave him. Forced to vanish, and the ring, along with the truth, was hidden. Malcolm could feel his heart pounding in his chest, his breath coming short. And now you're telling me that this ring, it connects us? That my family's legacy is tied to yours? Ava nodded slowly. Yes. Everything is connected. Your family's secrets, my family's struggles. This was never just about money or business, it was always about love, betrayal, and loss. The silence between them was heavy, thick with years of untold stories, buried emotions, and unresolved pasts. But now, with the truth finally surfacing, both of them would have to confront the weight of it all, and for Malcolm, the truth was just the beginning. The journey of understanding, of unraveling everything that had been hidden for so long, was only starting. Did you feel the weight of Malcolm and Ava's journey? The hidden truths, the buried secrets, sometimes, what we think we know about our past isn't the whole story. But it's never too late to uncover the truth and make a difference. If you enjoyed this story and want more powerful, emotional journeys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear this message, because sometimes, the most unexpected connections are the ones that change everything. Stay tuned for more, and keep your heart open to the stories waiting to unfold.